The next thing we're going to talk about is what I call your training space. And your training space is essentially where you study. It's that geographical location and also environmental. What have you got going on around? And is it the best possible training space for your brain to absorb information, keep information, and then be able to apply it in the exam? Okay, so let's be realistic. And you know what? I ask the question of my students, and they can tell me, you know what, Miranda, this bit's good, but this bit's not working quite so well. So think about the same thing. The other thing that I've made the point in the past is having a different space for learning and memory versus creativity. For example, my more arty students, they need to come up with designs for their portfolio in a far wider space, and they don't like to feel kind of hemmed in, which is absolutely fine. Whereas, as far as learning and memory is concerned, we sort of kind of need to box things up a little more, or else we can be taken away by distraction. So maybe think to yourself, if you also have some of the more arty, design, creative subjects, perhaps you need a different sort of space, if that's possible, to take, so that your brain can have that roam, it can be distracted, and that's not a problem. Whereas when we're trying to really get in there with our learning and memory for the more academic subjects, then you need to be focused and to really try and cut out those distractions. Stuff to think about, things like ambient temperature. Like, what sort of temperature is it like in your room? If it's too hot, you'll probably doze off. If your bed's too close, you're likely to doze off. Okay, so think about stuff like that. Have you got the right sort of lighting going on? What's the noise like? Do we need to have maybe some stuff to block out the noise? And I recommend headphones, and a lot of students study to music. If I can please say at this point, music without words, please, because the words, our brain can't help but pay attention to the words. Okay, so if you've got words coming in there and you've got words going in there, we're not being as efficient as we possibly can. We want our space also to have a single focus, right? So in this space, the only stuff around is stuff for studying. That's super, super important. You might even want to have some little markers, a bit of demarcation around the space, okay? So that you go, when I'm in the space here, I'm studying. If I step outside, I'm no longer studying. And that's kind of really important when it comes to breaks and things like that. If you're going to take a break from studying and maybe check out Facebook, do some emails, send some messages, take yourself outside of that space. Okay, so we're not mixing. Brains like routine. They like to go, oh, I'm here, and that's what I'm meant to be doing here. If you start mixing up the signals, brains go, well, I might be studying, but gee, I could be thinking about Facebook right now as well. Okay, and so that kind of ties in with minimizing our distractions. You also need to be comfortable. I mean, I don't mean so comfortable you're going to fall asleep like bed. But as far as your chair is concerned, for example, one of my clients recently broke his collarbone playing sport. And so therefore, sitting was a very painful thing if he had to lean. So think to yourself, how are you going to be comfortable? Because you're going to be spending quite a long time in that chair doing your work. So think about comfort as well. Tidiness and organization. They don't have to be beautiful, but in essence, if you're organized, you feel in control. And control is a wonderful thing. We like to feel in control over what it is we're about to do. Okay, so that's on the space itself. When it comes to our training gear, what stuff do we need in order to study successfully? Right, well, the first thing ties in with our motivation. What's in it for me? Why am I going to be doing this? And so I want your goal poster up on the wall, or a reminder every time you sit down, that's what I'm working towards. That's what's in it for me. And it might be a uni course, it might be an amazing job, it might be the lifestyle that you're working towards. But that's why I'm doing it, and that's why I'm going to focus. You need to have your study schedule. You need to have your topic lists. You need to know what it is you're going to be studying as far as the syllabus is concerned. And a little bit later on, you'll do your study calendar with me too. There's a whole heap of other stuff, and I've listed it off. You need folders, pens, get yourself organized, all of those different bits and pieces. I like to use A3 paper in order to do summary notes, and I'll show you how to do that when we have a look at how to enhance your memory and things like that. But make sure you have all the stuff you need. Also, an alarm. If you are someone who needs a little bit more of a deadline in order to get things done, you set yourself, okay, I'm going to study for 45 minutes, and then the alarm's going to go off. So you're working to an alarm. Give yourself a little bit of a deadline. And finally, water. Okay, not a sweet drink, maybe coffee. I have converted a few coffee addicts in my time, for which I must hold up my hand and say that I'm guilty. But water is really, really important, because the nature of being dehydrated is the fact that it impacts on the way that our brain works. And you need your brain working at full function. So you have your water there as well. Then we're ready to go.